Merry meet, weirdos! I'm Gory B Movie.
And I'm Danny Knightmare.
Welcome!
Thanks for having me.
Today, we're going to be talking about the best movies of 2024. So these are the ones that are completely biased. These are the ones that we like the most. Mm-hmm. So maybe we won't have your favorite on here because maybe we didn't see it. Maybe we didn't like it. Maybe it was on our worst of, which we just did over on Horror Addicts, if you want to check that out.
See us talk shit about movies that you might also think were shit or loved.
Yeah, that was like an enema of negativity, and now I feel fresh and squeaky clean.
Yeah, it's good to get that out and off my chest, but now I just want to embrace movies I feel like they were chef's kiss.
Ooh, Zigma got a new snake, and it's really cute. I was with him when he got it.
It is a very cute snake.
So cute. I love it.
It's got little duck lips.
There we go. Let's pull that up to the top.
Anyways, as we're getting ready for, like, if you want something that's not biased, in March we'll be doing the scares on Horror Addicts, which you people get to nominate, and
who are you calling you people?
Everybody watching.
Fair.
I don't care.
Fair.
Religion, creed, race, doesn't matter. You people who love horror like we do, you get to nominate and you get to vote on what the best movies are. But this is just our personal, between the two of us, kind of list. So.
Just the two of us.
But we're working on the Oscars right now, so send me some nominations on all my socials. Send them to Gory, too. She'll pass it along.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that, because if you're not happy with the outcome of that one, you have the opportunity to nominate whomever you want. We get enough nominations, anything can be on there, and it's voted on by you guys. So, then it's just, it's really just your fault.
Yeah, so we don't always agree with what happens at the Oscars, but we respect it. So here is just our own little personal picks between the two of us.
It's like we're in a different room because the lighting's different. See how I did that?
I know, I got all purpley, which I like purple. Puts me in a... Red was in like angry mode, now it's just like,
So what would you like to talk about first?
Here for blood.
We had to kind of wrap things up really quick because we had to get to this one. But, now we can kind of chill.
Yeah,
all right. I loved...
We're here for blood.
This is my favorite hidden gem of the year. So we're going to start off with definitely... It may not be the one I rated the highest. I gave it a 3.5. But the reason this is my favorite is just because I think it flew under everybody's radar. I remember the moment I saw this trailer, I knew it was exactly our kind of movie. Mm-hmm. And it really was. It's fun. It's low budget. It's not something that I would give like a 4-star. Man, I could give a 4 stars.
It got the juice.
But
Zigma got it.
Essentially what this is about is you have a guy, it's Sean, what's his butt? He's in all those Resident Evil movies. You know who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yes, Dusty. Yes, I actually think he would be a good Carl, except for the fact that he is a little too old. I think the dude's like my age. He's in his 40s.
But they could still go
he's dating a college student. You know what? I think he looks young enough that we're going to go with it. So the premise of this one is he is a pro wrestler, as in he does not do the mat wrestling. He does the pro wrestling like Danny Knightmare here. And his girlfriend, she is doing finals. She's in college, but she also has a babysitting gig, and it's for these very, very rich people. So she doesn't want to cancel, and she also doesn't want to lose future gigs with these people because they pay well. So she's like, I have to study. You're going to go babysit. He's like, but I got to keep the money, right? She's like, no. You're going to babysit, and I'm going to keep the money because I'm the one who sews up your tights and stuff for you. And he's like, oh, yeah, right. So he goes and agrees to do this. And it seems pretty easy at first. It's one little girl. She's very cute and sweet. And, they made cookies. They're a nice,
order some pizza.
Lovely house. It's going to be an easy night. And how these weird, Satanist guys show up. And they have these crazy masks. One of the ones I think is really cool. It's like an upside down face. And what I love about it is, he looks under the bed and the face is right side up. It's so creepy. There's some clever stuff in here. But they're more than human. They're demons. So what does our boy do? He will not accept that he is in a horror movie. He is going to action star movie this and use his wrestling moves against demonic entities.
Power bombs, pile drivers.
I think that's enough to sink you in. This has got a very Evil Dead 2 vibe to it. It's very funny, but it's also gory. It's got lots of action. It's got some creepy imagery and stuff, so it delivers on all fronts. Plus, we've got Dee Snider in here as a talking head. Everything I want and more. I highly recommend this. I actually did a trial of Screambox just so I could see this, because at the time when it came out, that was the only place I could find it.
It was limited.
Yeah. And they also introduced me to Onyx the Fortuitous one. So
we'll get into that in just a second. But
I am also grateful.
Yes. I love how when the pizza man delivers it, he recognizes him. He's like, I went to that wrestling show. You're awesome, dude. He's like, oh, okay. Give me an autograph. Sure, why not? He gives him an autograph. Then the pizza man gets horribly killed by these satanic people who want to sacrifice this poor little girl that he's in charge of just so they can keep their demonic powers going. But he's like, hell no, brain busters for everybody, pile drivers, all that kind of stuff. There's a part where he blocks, I think, a knife with his arm, but he's just like, fuck it, and keeps going.
And I love how he teaches them. He's like, no, chop, chop, chop.
Yes.
So I really love that. He's a great character. He's really funny. This is just a fun movie. You got great music, metal music, and lots of action, lots of gore. Great kills. There are no complaints here. And it's very low budget. That's the only thing I think some people might not like. It's supposed to be this very big rich house. You can tell it's really not that big. But I feel like they did very well with what they had available. And if you want to support indie films, this movie is very indie.
And like you said, we watched this right after the Oscars last year, which is fine because this is a 2024 movie. It's fine for this year's Oscars. But we got that Screambox trial. Onyx the Fortuitous, the Talisman of Souls. Sadly, we missed that. Nobody, I felt like that was a real hidden gem of 2023, and we didn't see it because until we saw that, we got that trial. I love Onyx the Fortuitous.
We found that because it was also on Screambox, and so it was recommended to me after I finished this one. So if you missed Onyx as well as we did, then that's one to also check out.
In 2024, Onyx was available on Tubi and Vudu and Prime. So it got a mass release, and that's when a lot of people got introduced to it. Just shout out to it. Sorry, didn't make it for the Oscars. I would have nominated myself for a couple of categories, but I just... Anyways, now people know about it.
If you follow me on Letterboxd, you would know that's the movie I watched 5 times last year. I've already watched it once this year. I watch it a lot. It has rewatch value, and so does Here for Blood. It's definitely a movie you pop on. We've got a bunch of our buddies over there and like, oh, is there a horror movie I haven't seen yet? I know I can count on you. Bring them out this one, and you're gonna have a good time. This is a great beer and pizza with your buddies kind of movie.
Screambox,
it's not as good as Shudder. That's why we did the free trial. Yeah. Do the free trial. You can do a free trial through Amazon. Shudder is it's worth getting that year-long subscription. Screambox, every so often they get something that nobody else has.
They have some hidden gems. That's one of the things I'll say about Screambox.
They have some exclusives.
Keep an eye on what they got.
They used to have Homicidal Homemaker and I think even Screaming Soup in there too.
Yeah.
But I can watch them on YouTube.
Yeah, we're all good buddies with them because they're usually with the Oscars as well. So. Cool.
I think you just dropped that name over there.
Yeah, man, go pick that up for me.
Alrighty.
It's a little heavy to lift. I'm also on Screaming Soup. I do a voice called Rebel Devil.
Very cool, very cool.
All right, now
let's do another one that maybe a lot of you missed.
And I loved this movie. Okay,
Me too.
We talked about Crazy House. That was one of the worst movies we saw last year, but it had a fun premise.
Stream,
I know.
What if they didn't watch it?
If you didn't watch mine, we talked about Crazy House. It was this sitcom gone horror movie, and it sounded like it was going to be so cool, and it was such a disappointment. If you saw the stream, you know why. Either way, go check it out after this. This movie, however, gave me like, okay, he's like kids' TV show host, but he's also like Freddy Krueger. It's like Pee Wee Herman meets Freddy Krueger almost. It gave me everything I wanted out of it, though. Like, it wasn't the most amazing thing ever, but it gave me everything I signed up for. I loved Mr. Crockett.
100% agree. This movie, I knew early on there is an image, because this is set in the 80s?
90s, I think?
80s or 90s. Actually, I think you're right. It is the
90s.
early 90s.
Yeah, it's like 94 through 96.
Like, yeah. There is an image, and this is pretty low budget, so I was really impressed with how good this looked. But just, I'm giving you a tease. I'm sprinkling you, right? You like being sprinkled? You're getting sprinkled right now. You see Mr. Crockett, who he kind of comes... I'll get to the plot in a minute, but you see him open up the VHS tape player and peek out from within. Mm-hmm. It was creepy.
And when he's on TV, like, if there's an argument in the other room, him and his, like, friends, they're, like, very Pee Wee Herman, like, the chair's alive and all stuff, like, all these other little creatures. They all, like, stop what they're doing and listen. It's also a smile time on Angel.
That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah.
So if you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Angel is the spin-off of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Season 5 has an episode where Angel gets turned into a puppet. It's the most glorious thing ever, but it's kind of a creepy rendition of, like, those shows like Lamb Chop and Barney. Mm-hmm. And that's what this guy is. And so he's essentially a protector of children, which is different than Smile Time, thankfully. Mm-hmm. But what he does is he's watching these children and seeing their lives as he's doing his show. He is a supernatural entity, so he's not like just a man.
Yeah.
And he does have a backstory, which we get into. Again, that, like you said, very Freddy Krueger, but not a bad guy. He's not a child molester, so
no,
good.
But...
Or child murderer, depending on what you go with. At any
not
rate,
all great either, though.
If he sees a child who's being verbally abused, physically abused, anything like that, neglected, then he basically asks the kids to invite him in, and then he will slaughter their family.
Yeah. And even
or take the kid away.
Yeah,
or both.
Like Peter Pan, in a sense. He'll steal the kid to like, Never Land. However, as much as his intentions are fairly noble at first, you get a sinister, demonic vibe of his power in general. So it's not all good. It's not all smiles and rainbows on the other side. There is something creepy going on with him.
Yeah, there's definitely a sinisterness to it, and he's very much like... It kind of reminds me... well, I don't want to go there, but basically he's very... enamored with children, which any adult who's specifically enamored with children, I think makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like I said, Pee Wee Herman meets Freddy Krueger. Put those two ideas together and you'll kind of get what he's got.
Yeah, I don't want to drop any names or make any implications about anybody, but you can go wherever you want with that. But basically, he only associates with children. And, you know, it's just naturally, it's kind of creepy. And then, you know, he basically is like an enemy to, like, adults and stuff. So it is very much kind of like those shows, like, you know, where they only have, like, I mean, Pee-wee's friends actually were adults. Where, like, you know, Barney and all of those ones, or Lamb Chop, where they're all little kids.
Pee-wee did have a bunch of little kids, and it's funny because anytime he played games with them, he went out to win, and he would, like, tease them for beating them.
But, like, on the TV show.
Yeah, no, even on the show. He had lots of little kids on the show.
Fair.
He had both. So...
But this is a good hidden gem. I can't remember what channel it's on, but it's really good. If you go to Just Watch, it's a website that can tell you where to find anything streaming. This is one to track down. Even if you've got to pay the rental price, it's worth the price of admission. You don't want to miss out on this one. It's really, really good. I also, you know, I think it's always good to see, like, different stories and stuff. And this is largely an entirely black cast, which is, you know, pretty cool to see. We don't see that often, so... Good movie.
Brandon, yeah, Blue's Clues slasher, it's not much different. So, I say check it out.
Very good movie. So, check it out. Next. I'm just kind of grabbing... These are not in any...
used to watch Blue Clues? Walls used to love Blue's Clues.
He was really more of a Dora guy. But yeah, he did like Blue's Clues as well.
I remember watching them.
Anyway... Our next one, these, I was going to preface, these are not in any particular order.
Just ones we really like.
We're going to put our favorites, you know, massive favorites towards the end, but, you know, they're not, like, ranked or nothing, guys.
These are, like, 3.5 to 5 stars. Just, like, we'll do the 5 stars at the very end, but...
Now, as a girl who has a lot of spiders... I have a lot of pet spiders here. I am a spider girl. So I love that spiders are getting their day in horror movies. Again, we haven't seen a lot since Itsy Bitsy and Arachnophobia. They're few and far between. We got 2 great ones this year. So we're going to talk about those. First, Sting. This one is really good. What I like about this is you already have a cool premise. You have this little spider that this girl, who's like your girl Gory, likes spiders, and she's going to raise it. She calls it Sting. But she doesn't realize that it's not an ordinary spider, and it's growing like super fast. There's a scene in here that's like straight out of Gremlins. It's growing exponentially fast to the point where it's as big as it is on the poster and is going after everybody in her apartment building, including her family. This quickly gets out of control. I like this movie because it has really good characterization. I really like our main character here. You know, we don't have the stereotypical girl who's afraid of bugs. I like when we're going to have a creature feature, particularly when it's about a creature like spiders that people like to hate on and honestly don't mean us very much harm. I really like when we have somebody in the cast, a character who likes spiders. And this girl very much likes spiders. And it's really not the spider's fault. It's just acting in its nature. And it's not a normal spider, so that's okay too.
What was the other one? Infested or something?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that next.
But I really like Sting here. I feel like she had a great relationship with the spider, despite the spider being dangerous, and you know, one of those things where it's gonna kill her problems, but also become her biggest problem. I still liked it. I enjoyed it, and like you said, it's cool when girls get some creepy stuff to latch onto. Like, yeah. I'm not a big fan of Monster High, but I'm so glad that it exists because girls should have stuff like that, and I feel like Sting's a good example.
I was a creepy kid, and so I like to see other, you know, creepy little girls represented. She also loves, like, you know, the gory graphic novels that her dad makes, and her relationship with her parents is really good. The neighbors in it are really good. She's got a good relationship with her grandmother. I love Sting. Like, they didn't just go cheap and just make it a spider that gets huge. Sting has a little personality. Like, I love how she does this, like, whistle thing, and Sting can repeat it. So, again, separating it from real spiders, and making it its own creature and giving it its own kind of, you know, character.
I'm glad you think Sting has great personality because he beat Hulk Hogan in '97.
And I'm going to tell you, even though this is very, like, you know, it's relatively low budget, the effects in this look great. Sting looks fantastic. That spider looks real, and I think that's what this movie hinges on. You really need this to look convincing, and it does. It absolutely looks like that spider is real. It looks like something you can touch. You can see the texture of it. All the gore in this, you can feel the texture of it. And I know they're using some CGI in here, but they're doing a good job. When you use it well, it's not bad. I think they're mixing practical and CGI here, but it looks fantastic.
You think a 12-year-old could watch it?
Yes.
Yeah.
The right kind of 12-year-old. She's super scared of spiders. This movie's going to scare her. There are some gory scenes in there too. But if she can handle what I would call like more campy gore, like Return to the Living Dead type stuff, she could probably handle this. The hardest thing I think for a little kid is there's some things that scare kids a lot, like the death of a parent. That's part of the backstory, so that's not a big spoiler.
Yeah.
But I mean, at her 12, this would have been nothing for me. But, you know, it just kind of depends on what she's into. I did a introducing kids to horror panel with Danny once, and I was asking the kids to come up and join us and talk about their favorite movies. And those kids liked Saw. Yeah. So it really just depends on the kid.
And they were like 9.
Yeah.
9-year-old girl was like, I love Saw.
Okay.
Okay. That's cool that you love Saw. That's not what we expected, but
I mean,
cool.
I was a big into the Jason movies when I was a kid. So.
But anyways, like, Sting retired last year, so go watch it for him.
Wow, Dan, you're just like really pushing this wrestling agenda here.
Well, I like to mention Sting anytime I can.
All right. Yeah, she likes banana splits. I think she can handle this. You might want to let her know that, you know, there's the death of a parent here. But if she can handle Bambi and Lion King, which I'm sure she has, it's not that big of a deal. You don't see it happen on screen. It's backstory.
What happens in Bambi and Lion King? I only saw edited versions my parents made for me.
I used to show my son what I would call the kid-friendly version of Jurassic Park. They get there and it's like, ooh, dinosaurs. You see the T-Rex, and then, ooh, that was fun. Let's go home in a helicopter. It was great. Yeah. Oh, no. This isn't working out. Okay. Well, I don't know if I can get the next image for us. Uh-oh. It's going to freeze up on us.
Uh-oh.
That's not good. Okay, can you guys still hear us and stuff?
We'll be right back otherwise.
Because I think OBS is crapping out on us. Probably because our son is also doing a stream at the same time. Can you guys still see us?
Streaming parent films. It doesn't watch. It's,
Well, I can still pull up stuff.
I think we're still there. Yeah.
All right, so it's kind of frozen on my end, so I can't change the picture. So long as the program doesn't crash on us, I think we're good. So I'm not going to be able to change the picture because OBS is being crazy.
Might as well just do the other one.
But we're just going to talk about Infested now. So just imagine the poster change. Doodle-loop, doodle-loop. Infested is a French movie. And again, same praise. This one's going for really scary. Sting has a bit of a humorous bent to it. Mm-hmm. But Infested, also called Vermines in the natural French, and I know I pronounced that wrong and I apologize. This is going for like a really very realistic looking movie. And again, I know they're using CGI here, but you cannot tell. There is a scene. There's a lot of similarities. This one's also in an apartment building. So the premise of this one is you have this guy who's actually super into spiders, which again, I love because I'm super into spiders, but he's a terrible keeper. So this guy, he sells a lot of like knockoff shoes. So he has a lot of shoe boxes, and he goes and sees this guy who he buys spiders from, and this guy's like, this one's super, super venomous, and he got it, from somewhere, like, out in the Middle East or something.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about it. He just knows it's really dangerous, and he just sells it to somebody. And the guy just puts it in a shoebox. A shoebox is not a good enclosure. Get yourself a tarantula crib, right?
Plus, he took the shoes out of said shoebox because there was water dripping on it, so therefore the shoebox was compromised, and therefore wet, and therefore the spider can escape.
And the spider escapes. And again, I like that it's very clear that this is not a normal spider, and we also have a person who loves spiders as our main character. So I think those are very important things in a creature feature like this, because usually, we see a lot of these, and they kind of demonize things like spiders and bears and dogs and stuff, and unfortunately that can have real-world consequences, as with Jaws. So that's just something I like in a creature feature when they take that extra step.
Yeah. I felt like this was a little less funny arachnophobia, but also kind of in the ghettos of France, I guess, or somewhere.
It's like the inner city France. I don't know enough about France to tell you like what is what. They're lower income. Mm-hmm. They live in an apartment building that's really run down, and the spider quickly gets out of control and breeds.
Very quickly.
And you have thousands of spiders. And I think one of the creepiest scenes, because these spiders are extremely aggressive, they have to go down this corridor, and they have to like not attract the attention of the spider, so like not show any light or anything, but they can feel the webs and stuff. And I was just like, oh, like this is, if you're arachnophobic, this may be the scariest spider movie that's ever come out. It's scarier than Arachnophobia. Honestly, I think Infested might be the scariest spider movie that's ever come out.
It's very well possible. I enjoyed showing you movies of Itsy Bitsy back when you had arachnophobia.
Yes.
This movie was a little... I honestly liked Sting better, just because I liked its humor and its little tongue-in-cheek a little more. Infested, for me, it would have probably been more fun for me if you were actually, like, afraid of spiders, but you're not anymore.
They're back-to-back for me, but I hear a lot. I like comedy in my horror, but I hear a lot of people saying that they don't want comedy in their horror. And if that's you, Sting may not be your cup of tea.
Swing this.
You're going to love Infested. Or if you just want a truly scary, no jokes, no arachnophobia, John Goodman bits. If you just want a truly scary movie, something that it takes itself very seriously and is convincing, then Infested's more your jam. I like them both. I like a little bit of jam and I like a little bit of jelly.
Spiders are dangerous to people and dogs.
I like eight-legged freeze. I like but I like comedy.
I like David Arquette.
I think these are like neck and neck for me. I was really glad. And they came out around the same time too. Really sad I can't show you the poster, but OBS is being dumb.
Yeah.
I don't want to close the program.
Wait for
I feel like I could do... Well, I feel like I could close it and it still will be streaming, but I'm not sure.
If we go away, we'll be right back.
Okay, I'm going to try it. Should I try it?
Yeah, give it a shot. If we go away, we'll be right back.
Okay, if it cuts out, we'll be right back. We're going to try something. Oh boy, I'm scared. Are you scared?
Scared.
I'm scared.
This more than spiders.
Hey, remember that one time when our cat jumped on the power button and killed our stream?
That was on the outside.
Okay, yeah, so it's still connected.
All right, we're still back.
I think we're good now, right?
It's a bit spider. All right. So we just talked about...
Are we still here? Okay, I'm going to try to change the image, even though that's what pissed it off last time. I'm just going to upload a new one. Because that won't piss it off.
Maybe it was too big or something.
Guys, let us know if we're actually live, because I'm a little paranoid right now.
Paranoid, the spiders are crawling all over me.
Oh my! I used to be.
We can hear you.
Can
Okay,
you
good.
see us?
Yeah.
I used to be so arachnophobic that just watching this spider, that kind of what's bad.
Back, kinda.
Is my connection bad? I refreshed. You're good. Okay, cool,
All right,
cool. Otherwise, we were going to kick our son off his stream because we pay the internet bill.
Yeah.
Such a mean mother.
Yeah, well.
Next time, Laws, next
We
time.
give him the necessities. He doesn't need all the extras.
What you feeling? How about this one?
Yeah, why not?
So here's an interesting story about a girl named Gory. So I like a lot of people. A Quiet Place was a very popular movie the year it came out, and I really liked it. I wasn't quite over the moon about it like a lot of people were. A lot of people were like, oh my god, it's so amazing, and it was just a fun summer movie. I really didn't like A Quiet Place Part 2. I thought the characters were really fucking, like, made some really dumb decisions. I don't really care for it. Unpopular opinion, I know. I really liked this one.
I also just like seeing Jim from The Office kind of spread his wings and do something different, you know? Like, hey, he's doing some horror sci-fi movie. That's kind of cool. And he's directing it and starring in it. And I thought, nice, cool.
And this one's got Eddie from Stranger Things in it.
Yeah.
And Lupita Nyong'o. Oh, I hope I didn't butcher that. Which she's just incredible, incredibly talented, and just easy on the eyes. So we love seeing her center stage in any film, and she's terrific. And what makes this movie for me, I know the people who didn't like this are going to say it's not that scary. Now, I do think it's very, very suspenseful. I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm a cat person.
The cat
and
acted
there's
its
a
ass
cat
off.
in peril for most of this movie. So I really latched onto the characters here. I do think having somebody grieving, it can be a cheap shot, but they didn't just go with that. They didn't just go, she misses her dad, which we see that a lot. That's a little cheap characterization. I'm not shitting on it.
Very
It's
Tim
just
Hortons.
easy. But when you don't stop there, you can have great characterization, and that's what we have here. So Lupita Nyong'o is the most gorgeous woman who's ever had life-threatening disease. I think she has cancer. I don't want to be wrong, but she has a life-threatening illness. She is towards the end of her days.
She knows that she's going to die soon.
But she still look amazing with her glowing skin. We love her. But yeah, so she is in a hospice type situation, and she doesn't often go out, but they're going into New York City, and she really wants to go to the pizza place that she went to with her dad. Who was this great, like, I think he was like a blues musician, and he was her everything, and she just kind of wants to go out on her own terms.
Yeah,
and so
go
she
to her
really,
actual apartment.
what I love about this is, and what makes her such a cool character is we have these horrific monsters coming out of the sky, and she's kind of like, yeah, nah. Like, she's kind of accepted that she's already come to terms with her own death.
Yeah, she's going to die soon anyways.
So she's almost fearless. She's afraid for her cat. She's not that afraid for herself. And then she meets this guy who's afraid of everything. So he's a perfect companion to her. And we love this guy when he was Eddie in Stranger Things. I want to say the actor's name is Joseph Quinn. I haven't seen him in much. But he's great in this. I believe he's British.
She only leaves the hospice
Yes.
situation to go to the city because she's promised good pizza. And she's like, I didn't think I was going to ever get that pizza again before I died. Because she knows she's going to die soon. So that's the only reason why she even goes to the city. And then all the craziness happens with the aliens attacking Earth and stuff. And she's like, I still want that goddamn pizza.
Yeah, and I really, really respect that. She wants to go out on her own terms. I think she's a terrific hero. I love the cat. And I really like this guy. Like, I like that we don't have, like, I've seen a lot of movies like Daylight and stuff where there's the really big, ripped guy who comes in and saves it. And here we have a woman who's dying, who is our hero. And she's powerful because she's not afraid. It's like that quote from Frankenstein, like, I am fearless and therefore powerful. And that's what she reminds me of.
Yeah.
Because she is fearless. She is powerful. And I love her. And he, like I said, he's afraid of everything. But they are good for each other. Like, they help each other grow. Like, and I know this doesn't sound like a horror movie, and really it's a drama first and foremost. But it really does make you question like a lot of real life horrors, like the horrors of death and stuff, and really living your life. And what would you do if something like this happened tomorrow? Plus, we do get a lot of the monster stuff. There are characters from the other two, though. I think you can enjoy this as a standalone film.
And after the first Quiet Place movie, I was a little over the monsters. I was a little over it. Like I thought they were cool in the first movie, like what they were, but the more I thought about them, the more questions I raised. And then the second movie didn't really do anything better with them. The best part of the second movie is the prequel stuff. And this is a whole prequel stuff, like without those characters. They're just like what else the world was doing that day when it happened. So this is kind of more what I wanted from Quiet Place 2.
Yeah, and we get that opening where it shows you about the family if you want to see what their early days were like. But I mean, I think one of the good marks of great characterization in a horror novel is I would read this if it was a book. It does not rely on its special effects, which are terrific. Its sound design, which is terrific, just like the other movies. You know, it's got great music. It's got great, all acting, all the visual things that we want from a movie are there. But the story and the character arc is solid enough that I would read this as a book.
Yeah. Like I said, I was already kind of over the aliens themselves, so I just kind of wanted to see more of what people were doing when aliens showed up. Same thing, like, one of my favorite things about zombie movies, there's so many of them, is what some of the people are just doing. Like what are they doing during the apocalypse? Like, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's entertaining, sometimes it's boring, and there's, like, for every good zombie movie, there's, like, 9 bad ones, but that's actually sometimes the more interesting stuff. Like, what would you do if it was the apocalypse? Regardless if it's zombies, aliens, disease, whatever, what would you do if you were one of the last people surviving? That's sometimes the most entertaining stuff.
I think, honestly, that's what I liked the most about The Quiet Place, is not the monsters. The monsters are pretty generic, in my opinion. It's very Cloverfield or some other things. I'm not saying I hate them. I'm just saying, they're just monsters. They're not what make these movies special. No. I think what made me scared in the first one is you have to be super quiet and you're going to have a baby. Oh, honey. Yeah. Oh, honey, that sounds awful. And then you also have Emily Blunt and John Krasinski. They're married in real life. They have amazing chemistry. I like that we have a deaf character played by a girl who's actually deaf, and how that would be an advantage in this world. Like, I like when we don't get the same characters over and over again. Yeah. And this is a very unique character who is every bit as badass as our 90s Schwarzenegger and Stallone. So... and she doesn't have to, do all the, gun firing and stuff. Yeah. She's just fearless, and it's amazing.
I feel like a lot of genres, they've done the creature to the point where we don't care so much, but if you give us good stories and good characters in those stories, then we'll still like the movies.
I agree with what King is saying here. Great sound design. I think that's why, I didn't see this one in the cinema, but I think it would have been great because these movies really do pay attention to sound design. Yeah. Nosferatu was fantastic in the cinema. The sound design, mwah, chef's kiss.
We'll get there.
But if you don't, the next best thing is headphones. Skinamarink. That was one, I'm not saying I loved it, but I gave it a rewatch with headphones in, and I'm like, okay, I kind of get this now. It is a little creepy.
Yeah. I'd still cut it down.
Well, yeah, I'm not. That's not a 5-star
But it is a better. It's a better way to watch it if you're gonna watch it.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It ain't bad.
So.
All right, moving on.
Staying strong.
I like your little songs. You can do all the theme songs, hon. What you want to talk about?
Let's go with the New Omen.
Ooh. Oh, so I've noticed this. Have you guys noticed this? Every year there is a trend. I kid you not. It's the home invasion year. It's this year. This year it was Satan. Satan was up in everything this year. And nuns and Satan.
Nuns and devil and all that stuff.
And it's interesting, from a...
satanic stuff.
When you look at how horror always mirrors what's going on in our actual world, it makes you kind of wonder why we got all this Satan in our movies. What's going on? We got, the next satanic panic going on here.
Yeah, and surprisingly, because we usually get some of these movies, but we got some good ones this time. I actually went into this with low expectations because it was a prequel to The Omen. I'm like, okay.
And it felt like it kind of quietly came out, it didn't want to get your hate. I'm like, all right, I see you, Omen, because I love The Omen. I think The Omen is a 5-star movie. I think it is one of the best horror movies of all time. Unpopular opinion, I know. I bought the shirt. I got an Omen shirt. I love that movie.
And then there's Omen 2, and then there's Omen 3, and then there's that Omen TV movie.
I actually kind of like the TV movie, no joke.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's because I saw it when I was a little girl, so I was like, that's cool.
I don't hate the franchise, but I know what it is past the original, right? The original is amazing, and then it's got a fun franchise after.
They played limbo with this series, where it started off like at a pretty decent level, and then the bar just got really low.
Yeah.
the bar was, you could just step over it at this point. So, I mean, honestly, they didn't have to do a lot here. And yeah, I think a lot of the twists in this might, because we know it's an Omen movie. We know...
It's a prequel.
Yes. And I have some mixed feelings on that. As an Omen prequel, I do feel like some of the stuff don't quite add up.
But
it's that jackal stuff. If you've seen The Omen, that stuff, I feel like they were pretty clear about that stuff. But it could work. I mean, they set this up for another movie.
Yeah, and also, it's close enough to where you feel like the people in the actual Omen might just not have gotten the information completely right. But
that's
it's
possible.
still, it still fits. It just means, in between this and the Omen, some things got misstrued or a little gaslit or whatever. But it still works close enough to where, okay, it doesn't break anything that we know from the Omen. It just... And even the Omen itself was a little weird with the little, 666 tattoos, so this one can be a little weird with it as well.
So, I mean, the premise, the story of this could easily just be like the TV movie. It's nothing that original. We're going to talk about one that I think is pretty original. What makes this movie stand out is, A, the camera work. Well, hello, phone. The camera work, which is phenomenal. I mean, this is done, they really put their money in the right places here. And I think her name's Nell Tiger Nikto. I don't remember her last name, and I don't want to butcher it any more than I already have. But our lead actress in this is phenomenal. She has a whole scene that's an homage to The Possession. Mwah! This girl deserves Best Actress for the Year. She is amazing. We love her. There's also some great body horror in this one. I'm hard to get that
There's
reaction
demons
from.
in the coochie.
Yeah, you put something in a girl's coochie, I'm gonna be like, oh.
They're giving birth abortion-y stuff happening, and you see it, and there's demonic creature in there.
I think it's because we don't see that much, and I know that was really hard for them to get past the MPA, so they had to cut it in a specific way. But it feels like you see a lot.
And I wasn't expecting any of it, so I was like, whoa. that's
yeah.
You went farther than I expected. Well, when on the stream we just did, where I was like, some movies, they had good setups, but they didn't dare go there. This movie, dared to go there. And yes.
And I think what people forget, because they've seen Damien, Omen 2, and they've seen Omen 3, which, we don't talk about that. They did our boy Sam Neill dirty.
Alan.
Yeah, not the only time it's ever happened. But honestly, The Omen was the original Final Destination. That movie, they get an omen that things are going to happen through these photographs. So you can look at the photographs and you can see how someone's going to die. So there might be a flash of light, and then that guy gets stabbed with the crucifix hanging above the church. Or, someone might have something across their neck. That person might get decapitated. And then the kills are really, really cool. So, yeah, it was the original Final Destination. And I feel like this movie definitely knew what franchise it belonged to, or definitely at least showed respect to that original film. Because they talk about a lot of the lore stuff that has kind of gone by the wayside. Mrs. I'm terrible with names today. Anyway, Damien's caretaker. They talk about those kind of people who take care of the Antichrist. He has his own little coterie of people. Yeah. But also, there are some shocking kills in this. Shocking. Yeah. Drop your popcorn.
Plus, if they can, in a sense, prove an Antichrist, then it proves there's a Christ, so it's good for the church. Yeah, they're a little messed up in the head, but that's their motive, and it makes sense.
But I did really like this. I also like seeing movies about... we see a lot of movies where somebody's a nun and they've been doing it for a really long time, so they've got the whole thing under control. I really liked when I was a kid the movie The Trouble with Angels. I really like movies about people who are just becoming nuns. I even liked the movie The Nun for that reason. I think it's really interesting because you're at that point where you're making a really big decision, a really big commitment. Yeah. And so I think our character here is really interesting, and she's in a really odd position. So I don't want to spoil anything. Not that it's a movie that's super spoily, but I will say you're going to go into this because it's beautiful. It's the best performance of the year. And, I mean, God, the music's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. It's lovely.
And we're not going to talk about it.
Don't watch it on your phone.
We're not going to talk about Immaculate, right?
We are.
Oh, okay. Let's do that next.
We're doing it next.
All right. Because I feel like very similar and
it's kind of like with it how we did Sting and Infested.
Yeah.
So these ones,
segues.
This is your double feature. So I want you guys to have a spider night, watch Sting and Infested. For King, put your daughter to bed and watch Infested. And, well, actually, your daughter seems like she can probably handle it. And then have another night. Don't let your daughter watch these ones. Watch First Omen and Immaculate. I think you should follow up with Immaculate.
Yeah, Immaculate, poor timing on its behalf because it was made actually first, but it like got in limbo for a little bit.
Well, the production of it got started. And what I love when people are very passionate about telling a story. And Sydney Sweeney, who's very young, so props to her, she came across the screenplay before she had established a name for herself. And she was dedicated to getting this movie made. So if it hadn't been for her, I think it took like 4 years to get somebody to actually agree to make this movie. And it probably helps that she's got a little more star power now. But she really pushed at a young age to get this done. And I think that's incredible.
And if you didn't know that, you might think, oh, maybe they're just capitalizing on trying to make their own First Omen. Because it's a very similar story. But no, it's just kind of a coincidence that they came out together. And around the exact same time. However, Immaculate, I feel like the cuffs are off. Like, it has its own shock value. Great shock value. I'm not saying First Omen didn't.
I think it got greenlit because of Omen and all
possibly.
that stuff.
But either way, I'm glad it finally got made. And it doesn't have those handcuffs that I feel our First Omen has by being a prequel to something we know. It has to go in a direction we know. Immaculate can go in any direction it wants. And I feel like that's why, for me, it just gives it slightly the better edge. Because I can't predict the ending. And I didn't predict the ending. And then
you're not
like,
going to see the ending coming.
Like so.
I feel like, you know, how Brandon says it's the year of Sydney Sweeney. It's just the same thing for Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was all over the place. I know everyone's going to crap on him for Craven, but then he also did, like, Nosferatu and stuff. So, yeah, she's terrific in this. You know, forget Madam Web. Like, that is not her fault, though. I'm sorry, watching Dakota Johnson fail to open a can of Pepsi for an hour and a half. That is my jam and my jelly. That was
her
fantastic.
actual rival. A can of soda.
That's what she can't defeat.
Can't open a can of Pepsi. She's like toys with it in 3 different scenes, like trying to open it but can't open it.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
And then they dance on a table because IA told them to. I guess I don't know.
That was also 2003, I think.
Yeah, it was. It was last year.
Or
2004, actually.
Yeah.
But
well,
it was
I mean, that's the year they went back to, just like in...
oh, yeah, 2003.
What was it called?
Time Cut.
Time Cut. So this one is, you're going to think, like, this is the exact same movie. Why are you recommending this to me? Because it's like what we said with some of the other movies. You can start with something basic. That's fine. Yes, I know we have other AI movies. I know we have werewolf movies. But then you have to go, what if? And answer that with something creative. And that is what Immaculate does. And it does it beautifully. And I also feel like this is very culturally relevant with all the issues right now facing women's autonomy over their own bodies. So, like, yeah, what would happen if you woke up one day, you're a guy, just, you know, picture it, or a woman
of faith.
You wake up, you've never had sex, and you are pregnant.
They're basically like, you're Virgin Mary, but it's going to be the Antichrist, but it's important.
They don't say that.
I know, they don't say that, but either way, you're going to have like some sort of birth that's not right, and the church is still pushing you to do it, but you don't have any control of yourself.
Essentially what happens in this is they think she's giving birth to Jesus. And that's why she suddenly goes from being just a newbie nun to being somebody who gets a lot of special treatment. And the other nuns don't like it. She gets put on a pedestal. And she, A, doesn't know she actually is carrying the return of Jesus Christ. B, isn't entirely sure she trusts the church.
No.
There's some sketchy things going on, and she doesn't know if it really was Immaculate Conception. So she's questioning a lot of stuff, and she's doing a lot of investigation. There's some really creative stuff here with our protagonist. There's something with a chicken. No spoilers. But I will not spoil a damn thing for you. That last 10 minutes, my jaw was on the ground.
Yeah.
It was the most intense thing I've seen all year. It has gumption. It went there. It was like, you know what? Nothing's off the table here.
No.
And it went for, and, you know, I said this about another movie in our worst of stream. I'm not going to tell you which one because I don't want to spoil it for you. But certain things tend to be taboo and off the table. If you do it well, nothing is taboo. And that's what this movie does.
Yeah. Like I said, it's very similar to the first Omen, but it doesn't have that handcuffs of needing to go into a direction being a prequel. It can do whatever it wants. And that's why I give it the slight edge. They're both amazing movies. I think I gave them the same star ratings. I just like this one a little bit more because I really couldn't predict it, where I kind of know where the Omen has to go.
And I like this because it's like I said, you know, on our worst of stream, if a movie's going to be culturally relevant or if it's going to want you to think about something, what it needs to do is set the table for you and let you sit down and decide what you're going to chew on. It's not telling you to be pro-life or pro-choice. It's just saying, here's some things to chew on.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, and you can also just enjoy it for a really shocking movie. That's it's just a lot of fun. But, you know, if you want, this movie is the kind of film that you can have a cool discussion about.
Yeah, I feel like both movies give you that, like, blind faith can be dangerous. Like, question things. Like, not saying you have to, like, pick an answer either way, but question things.
Yeah. You just quoted Dogma, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, Dogma was great.
I love Dogma.
Probably one of the best religious movies of all time.
All right, are we ready for another one?
Yeah, let's move on up.
Why do you keep trying to make this the Jeffersons? Like that's like Nick at Night. They don't even know what the Jeffersons are.
Wheezy knows.
Danny, you're showing our age now, dude. That's not even our generation.
So I grew up with.
All
Nick
right.
at Night.
So which one are we going for? How about this one?
Yeah. Since we're.
I mean, we're talking about some like feminist stuff, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like I said in the other one. So when something is important to a particular group, be it a sexual orientation, a gender, a race, I think it's extremely important to have somebody from that group in part of your production team. Get a producer, get a writer, get a director. And with Woman of the Hour, they did that. This is Anna Kendrick's directorial debut. She did a fantastic job.
What you might think of her as a person either way. I know a lot of people that like her, a lot of people that don't like her. I feel like she did a great job as director.
I've heard she's kind of a lousy person, but I mean, honestly, Alfred Hitchcock was a lousy person. Doesn't mean she doesn't make great work. I don't want to hang out with the girl, but I'll love to watch her movies.
I like her as an actress, and I think if this is what is to come for her as directing, I like it even more. This is also based on a true story, and I feel like they did a pretty good job of handling that, because it's a very bizarre story.
This is good. If you... I thankfully didn't know a lot about the true story, and I think it made for better watching. This is... based on a true story of a guy who was a serial killer. He preyed on young women, but he was on the dating show, which at the time was a huge deal. And yeah, I won't tell you anything. I think it's best to go into it blind because then you won't know what happens. But what I think is cool about this is even if you do know a little bit about the story, they have structured it in a way that's going to keep you guessing. I was really surprised by some of the twists and turns this took. Yeah. They do take some liberties with the girl. I love the character in this because they are able to pack in a lot in this, and it's the 70s, and she's told she has to smile, and it doesn't really matter what you do. She wants to be an actress. She didn't really even want to be on the show. Her agent made her do it. But as long as you smile and laugh at the guy's jokes and stuff, laugh at the host's jokes, they really kind of put her in her place. And then finally somebody encourages her to just do what she wants to do, and she challenges the guys in the show. Who aren't really prepared for it at all.
Yeah, what's his name? The host, he's from Arrested Development. He was the man.
Yeah, Mother's Boy.
Mother's Boy contest. He's got the hook hand. He's hilarious. Likes his juice.
We're so bad at remembering the names.
Yeah, but he played his role perfectly because he is like this douchey 70s host that would probably tell women, you know, wear something sexy and skinny and smile and just kind of be dumb because that's what guys want to watch. And she's just wants to be an actual actress. This is kind of below her in a sense, but at first she's like, I'll play along, but then she realized, no, fuck that.
And I mean, I wasn't alive in the 70s, but I was alive in the 90s, and I was alive in the 80s, and I was even, raised on a military base, and I was told a lot, like, don't correct boys, and boys like it when you make them feel smart, like, ask their opinion about stuff. They like that laugh and stuff. Like, that was still pretty relevant in the 80s and 90s. So I thought this was really good. I like her character. I don't think they took too many liberties with the real story. And the guy in this is terrifying. I can see how he was able to seduce so many women because he is listening to them. He is looking them in the eye. He is paying attention. He's not stupid.
No.
And a lot of women are going to be drawn into that. But it's also like, you already know who he is. So when he goes to help somebody move her furniture, you're just like, oh, honey, please don't, please don't, please don't.
It does a great job on both ends of that coin. His is very sinister, but like how she's told talk and act like this to impress guys, he knows how to behave in a sense to impress girls. Like,
yes.
And he plays that, but he's doing it for very cynical reasons, where she is just told to do it because then you'll be good for ratings and people will like you. But
the other guys make it so easy for him to stand out and seem like a real catch.
Because they're just these self-serving kind of douchey guys, where he is in a sense too, but he knows how to hide it. He knows how to play the game the opposite way. And that's what makes it scary, because that's like what cult leaders and other serial killers do. They're usually very charismatic individuals. They know how to manipulate the situation. And it makes it a very intense movie.
King, to answer your question, we are both on Letterboxd, and I do have my best of 2024 on there. I log every movie. I try to review most of them. I have tons of lists on there. I've got crazy lists. If you want a list of every horror movie that has a dong mutilated, you probably don't. You're a guy. But I have like every shark movie ever made. I have a lot of summer camp horror movies. I have a lot of crazy lists on there, including best of 2024. So go check that out. Just go on to letterboxd.com/Gory B Movie. There's a link, and you'll also find Danny on there.
Danny Knightmare.
Yes,
all one word
under
for some
Danny
reason.
Knightmare.
But I have also like the best of 2024, best 2023. We do that all the time together for these streams and for the Oscars. But she's got a lot more lists. I have a bunch, but she's got way more.
Because we love a list.
We do.
I also think if you're a YouTuber and you make lists for your channel, it's just a great way to organize it.
It is.
Not that I'm really a YouTuber anymore. I just do streams on occasion. I digress. This movie is fantastic. So I also like it's her first directorial.
I think she killed it.
I think she did a great. So one of the scenes that really stands out, this isn't a huge spoiler. I think we can talk about this a little more freely since it is loosely based on actual events. Mm-hmm. Don't look that up until after you've seen the movie. But there's a scene, and I think a lot of women have felt this, where I think a lot of women can relate to this, or even just men who are very perceptive. But I in general, a lot of guys I know are not naturally afraid of strangers, particularly not strangers of the opposite sex. Whereas a woman, the percentages of women who have been attacked are pretty high. I think most women I know have at some point been attacked by a man. So we are naturally very trepidatious, particularly on a man that we know we can't take. This is why women hold their keys a certain way going to their car. Mm-hmm. It's not that we think every guy's a jerk, but if he happens to be, we want to be prepared because it's still not a fair fight. Yeah. So there's a scene where she's talking to this guy. They're having like drinks, and it's the scene where she realizes there's something off about him. And I know it. I've been in this situation. And then you tell other people, and they're like, well, he didn't say anything, though. And you're like, you don't get it. It was like a feeling I got. She captures that by making the bar completely quiet. Yeah. And you're really hearing how weird he sounds and how he's looking around. You're really paying attention to what he's doing. And she captures that so anybody, even if you've never felt that, you can relate to this feeling that she's putting on film.
It's like, in a sense, he's giving her all the right answers, and which was very refreshing at first. But then you get that feeling like, wait a minute, this seems almost staged, rehearsed, almost like I'm being lured into a trap.
Well, he says a couple small wrong things, too, that she catches onto. But it's really capturing her intuition, which is what ultimately saved her. Because I will tell you, in real life, she did not accept the vacation with the guy. And it was because she sensed something was weird about him.
Yeah, like, they do the game show and the prize, but in real life, she realized, wait a minute, I got to know him a little bit after the game show. And,
she was pretty savvy, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I feel like Andrea Kendrick, as a director and as an actress, captured it very well.
But there's also some just great camera angles and stuff. The kind of things that I would expect from somebody who's a lot more seasoned. So she definitely knows her way behind the camera.
And even though this is her first time technically doing it, I think she's been paying attention far before this.
I think she's just got a natural gift for it. Mm-hmm. Here is mine, and You can find Danny by, I don't know, go through my friends or something. Or just doing the same thing with Horror Addicts.
Yeah, just put Danny Knightmare instead
Yeah.
of Kirby / So. Nightmare with a K.
I still need to see
Like how it
Maxine,
says
well
there.
so behind. Yeah. We don't have Maxine on our list. It was kind of a 3-star one for me, but, you know, the whole trilogy is pretty good.
As a trilogy, I rate it really high. And Maxine, it was close. It was more up than it was down, but it didn't quite make this list.
No.
It was just slightly below the list.
How about this one?
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about Smile 2. So I think it's really hard to do a good sequel. And Smile really had a lot against it. I didn't think it looked good when it came out. To me, it looked like a lot like that movie Truth or Dare.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be kind of silly. But I thought it could at least be fun. So we did see it. And it was very surprising in that it was very scary. It had terrific characters, terrific acting.
Mm-hmm.
Sosie Bacon was phenomenal.
I went into it with very low expectations because we also did like a movie marathon that day. We saw Barbarian and we saw Pearl, and then we saw Smile. And I thought, okay, Smile, it's gonna kind of end on a downer because I thought it was gonna like not be very good just from what I saw. Actually, it was like okay. It was my less favorite of the 3, but it was still way higher than I expected it to be. And I honestly think I like Smile 2 a little bit more.
Here's what I liked about Smile. I think, yeah, it's a pretty simple metaphor, but it works exceptionally well in that, you know, things like basically misery loves company. And when people are in pain, a lot of times they kind of want other people to be too. Whether or not they intentionally are doing it, they spread that around. That negative energy gets spread around. And that's a lot of what we got in the first one, this almost like contagion.
Yeah.
The second one, it really can be viewed a couple different ways. I took it a lot as how it feels to be an addict, and particularly when you don't know if you can trust what you see and feel, you can't really even trust yourself.
Yeah, you it's a good metaphor. I feel like being out of control. You can't control your substance addiction, but you also can't control your life in this situation. Like people are in control of you, and you just feel almost helpless about it.
And that's the thing, too. Our character here, even though she's famous, she's this great pop star, she's surrounded by a lot of yes men, so you might think she's got it easy, but she has zero control. She has no control over what she eats, where she lives, when she performs. Her mother is her manager. She is micromanaged to the extreme, and it is partly because she was an addict. So, yeah, this movie has a lot of themes into it. I think you can twist and turn it, and you can get a lot of meaning from it in multiple different ways. Like, you know, he went more with the just control. I really saw a lot of, like, drug stuff in here. But it is really scary, and I think the way, and it's hard, because I think when people are smiling and stuff, it can be read sometimes as comedy, like in Truth or Dare.
Yeah.
But it's done effectively in this. It's very intense, very gory, shockingly gory. I do think, you know, some parts of it you might be like, oh, I saw that coming, but I definitely think there are moments in this movie that are going to shock you.
Yeah. And even with the drug stuff.
Hey, Death Central.
I feel like, in a sense, like, she likes to do the drugs because it is her way to escape this life she has no control of. Even though she has no real control of her addiction. That's another thing, like, in a different, like, it's just, you're filling up a different cup with problems, but it feels, like, good at first because you're like, hey, I'm not allowed to do this, so I'm going to do it because I'm going to take control. But then you're under the control of the drugs.
But you're giving the control of the drugs.
Exactly.
So she's never in the driver's seat.
Exactly. But it's like, she feels like it at first, and it's like a good relief at first, but then you realize, no, you're screwing yourself even more in a different way.
Yeah, and, you know, I think handing the reins to something, you know, maybe drugs or something, can maybe feel good.
Uh-huh.
But in this case, she also cannot trust what she... You know, like when people say, I don't remember what I did last night?
Yeah.
This is like kind of that in made into a horror movie.
And the Smile Demon, if you've seen the first Smile, you know, it loves to kind of gaslight the situation for you. So that's another fear in this as well. You can't trust any reality. Like, you don't know what's going on.
It's also interesting because she's a pop star, too. So, unlike the first one, where if someone's smiling at her strangely, particularly because she was a therapist, and that's not typically a smiling situation, she kind of had a heads up on where the threat was coming from. In this, she's a pop star. So, when a girl walks up to her with a big, wide grin,
wants an autograph.
It could just be because she's a fan.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of celebrities have had people be kind of like in this movie when they're like their meet and greets and autograph signings and stuff. There's always people that feel probably very off, and it's like, but you have all these eyes watching you, so how do you play it? Where the therapist thing, that's a very intimate thing, but nobody's watching you specifically. I mean, you
And-
still got to handle it very delicately. But this, it's like the world is watching. So man, if you mess up, everyone sees.
I feel like the smile demon, it almost reminds me, like, I remember when my son was little, he was terrified of anybody who was in a mascot head. And he was always like, because I don't know what they're really thinking inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes the smile demon so scary, because it's a smile, and we know that should mean good things, but we don't actually, we know it's thinking something awful.
Ronald
And we know
McDonald.
it's not matching up. And it's like, it creates something like that makes you very afraid.
Yeah. Like, that's why I think animatronics can be scary. Ronald McDonald can be scary. Clowns can be scary in general. So
And it does what I want, what I'm hoping we get from They Follow, the sequel to It Follows. It expands the lore. It's an
Yeah.
interesting lore. I like that we got more of it.
I feel like they're both good metaphors, but they're just both good different metaphors.
Yeah.
So,
What's up, Cheyenne? Good to see you.
so I think I actually like this one just a tiny bit more.
I think they're both great. I think they're both great.
That's just how I felt. Neither were bad. All right, what do we got?
Oh, wow. We're getting to the really good ones.
Uh-huh.
You want this one?
Sure. This was one of my actual favorites. I didn't honestly...
Well, we just talked about sequels, so it's a perfect segue.
Yeah, this is a sequel that took a long time to make.
I thought we would never see this, to be honest. I truly thought we would never see this movie.
Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian happened
Oh
like
my
on
gosh.
script a long time ago. There was Beetlejuice in Love as well. Like, they tried to make this movie and it just never happened. And then Tim Burton went on this whole Disney kick for a while there, and he was making all these weird CGI type movies. Like, I felt like he really lost his roots, and eventually he felt the same. He said that when he did the Dumbo movie, that he has lost his way. He's like, so he got out of his contract with Disney in a sense. He didn't want to do any more of that, at least anytime soon. He wanted to go back to his roots, so he unburied the ghost with the most. He finally said his names and summoned him. It took him forever. And Michael Keaton came back, and Winona Ryder came back. A lot of people came back, and then we have some new characters. And I loved it. I thought it was like, okay, more practical effects. I'm not saying there isn't any CGI or any of that in there. It's just he didn't rely on that like a lot of those Disney movies do. Or I just feel like they look bad, but not in a good way. Where it looks like old Tim Burton, like stuff before.
Bad, but not in a good way. I gotcha.
And ever since he did Planet of the Apes in 2000, I felt like his movies have been fairly hit and miss. But before that, he had his own Tim Burton feel. Like, it was genuinely his own type of feel of movie, everything he did before that. And this is more that.
But I do like that he gave Danny DeVito work, because we need to see that man in everything.
Yeah. Danny DeVito was one of the best parts of the
Danny
Dumbo
DeVito's
movie.
lovely in this. So,
Michael Keaton as well.
I agree with the people who don't like it. There are way too many characters,
That's
and
my
he
biggest
straight up
problem with it.
admitted he just put his girlfriend in it, and his girlfriend's hot, so I really wasn't complaining.
She wasn't developed very well. I feel like that's the problem. I think with Christopher Walken already in it, we didn't need a lot of some of these characters.
It's William Dafoe.
Oh, William Dafoe, sorry. William Dafoe is in it, and he's great. He's like a cop that's an actor who's playing a cop, but he's a real
and then
cop
there's
in the underworld.
also Lydia's new boyfriend.
Yeah, but there's just a lot of characters, and I feel like maybe we should have saved some of them for the next one, because I feel like there already is going to be a third one.
I feel like they're going to do a third one. I think, this could have been because Beetlejuice is a 5-star movie for me. This is a 4-star movie. This is one I'm going to add to my collection. That's no shade against this. It's a pretty respectable score in my opinion, for a sequel. But it's not a 5-star just because I feel like it is trying to do a lot of things at once. I think if we had focused more on the relationship between the 3 generations of women in this, Delia, Lydia, and Astrid, I think it could have been a bit stronger. But I'm not going to say I didn't have fun with these things, because I did have fun with Willem Dafoe. I did have fun with Marina Baccarin. I think her makeup and stuff, I'm like, oh, cosplay goals.
Yeah,
And Bob, I love all the Bobs forever.
And we got to finally figure out with that ring and the finger that was already on it, like from the first movie, like there's actually some callbacks here.
Origin story for Beetlejuice. I've always wondered, because you kind of look like how you died.
Yeah, so it's like, why does he look like that? This movie explains why he looks like that.
And the aesthetic and everything, it looks like the first movie, and we get sandworms, and yeah, it's a lot of fan service, but I'm a fan, and I was serviced.
And somebody left the cake out in the rain, and I'm happy with that.
So here's the thing. I didn't know that was a real song.
It is.
So this is probably a very 90s thing to say, but do you guys know Space Ghost Coast to Coast?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love Brack on that,
Yeah.
and he used to sing this song like, I love you, baby. We could get married, just the two of us. But he would say, somebody left a cake out in the rain.
He was quoting a real song.
Oh, no. And I thought he just made it up because he's adorable. No, it's It's from a real song.
Yeah.
And just like, I've also heard somebody complain, one of my brothers complained, not the one that's in the chat right now. One of my brothers complained that it was a musical, and I kind of get that because the musical number, the cake one, it runs a little long. But the original did have everybody singing Deo, so I think it's trying to give you more of what maybe you liked in that first one. I personally really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, I love the part where they're singing Deo and the like shrimp, like demon hands grab their head. So you gave me something similar to that, and I actually do like this obscure song about the cake.
We went to the Beetlejuice Tim Burton restaurant.
Yeah, where
I got that shrimp.
And they actually, like, have people, like, that are characters from Tim Burton movies sing songs and stuff. It was actually really cool.
Yeah, Zygmunt was with us.
Yeah. Cool. It was a lot of fun. And that's
in
what
LA, by the way. It's a actual Tim Burton Beetlejuice, but it's all Tim Burton.
And it took us,
restaurant.
35 years to get a new Beetlejuice movie? But he still stayed an iconic character even between, like, because there's the cartoon, there was comic books, there's the themed restaurants, there's the Broadway show, there's things that have kept him in the spotlight despite that we've only now gotten a sequel.
Yeah, and I think something else that's we're really lucky is my favorite show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's gonna be really hard to reboot if they ever do that because vampires aren't supposed to age. And Beetlejuice doesn't age, but with all that makeup you can't really tell.
Yeah.
And Michael Keaton is still as good as he ever was. The cast is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we should have saved some stuff for the third movie. It is a little bloated. And it didn't quite make this list either. That was kind of the Ghostbusters problem with the Frozen Empire. Too many characters. But this, I feel like, despite that it has too many characters, was just loads of fun the entire time.
I think they could have streamlined it and maybe combined some of the characters a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm not angry with what we got. I had a really good time.
Yeah. So, not everything needs to be completely fleshed out for you to enjoy it. I do believe it is better when the characters are fleshed out and they're being corpses. There's a lot of flesh to go around, but that's
Brandon,
a small problem.
I like his adaptation of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory too. Like, the original one kind of scares me.
The original one is great because it is a horror movie.
It really is. Cheyenne, I did see Strangers Chapter 1. Unpopular opinion, I didn't think it was bad. I'm not saying it's good. It's not on this list, but I thought it was like 2.5, 3-star movie. It was fine, but I didn't have high expectations. So I'm gonna see the next one. It was creepy. I don't know. I feel like the characters were able to fight back a little more than in the original. I know it's a kind of a beat for beat remake, but I still thought it did enough of its own thing. I wasn't mad at it. I was mad at the sound design. And that's definitely why it was 2.5, 3 stars.
Yeah, it was fairly mid for me. I didn't like the original all that much. I mean, it has Dennis from Sunny in Philadelphia, but I don't really like it that much. I do love Prey at Night. And
so we're not... Don't trust our opinion. We have unpopular strangers' opinions. I like Prey of Night the best.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. So I felt like the remake was just... Why are we taking a step backwards? Because we already did that movie.
Yeah.
You're just remaking the lesser movie for me.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean... I feel like they're going to make some more with this new one. Like, it's going to be a trilogy, right? Like,
that's the plan.
Hopefully.
That was my birthday movie last year.
So I am...
But now it's all soggy, and I don't think I want it anymore.
Like you said with Brack in the 90s, I won a Surge CD. It had Brack singing, I gotta eat my vitamins.
I'm telling you,
Space
the
Ghost,
only
Ghost,
reason
Ghost,
we're married
and the Brack
is
show were
because
great.
Brack isn't real. I adore that man.
There's a few cartoon characters I would say the same.
I think like most of my first crushes were really like cute cartoon characters, like Donatello. We love a man with a brain.
Yeah, April O'Neil was my first crush. And I'm talking about that 80s cartoon.
So if we if they were real, we just wouldn't have worked out. Anyway, our marital problems aside,
Sorry.
Let's talk about this one.
Yeah.
We got time. You guys aren't in a hurry to go to bed, right?
So this is a classic that was redone, probably by the person who should redo said classic. Robert Eggers, who proved us with The Lighthouse that loves to do old cinematography type stuff and loves black and white and kind of gives us his love for that feel of old cinema, stepped up to do one of the most iconic old vampire movies to ever exist. That thankfully does still exist because Bram Stoker's wife really tried to go out of her way to get rid of it.
Yeah, she had every copy of Nosferatu destroyed because they made this, which is basically Dracula, without permission.
Yeah.
But thankfully a private collector had a copy of Nosferatu, and that's why we have it to this day. And, SpongeBob. had, Nosferatu.
The light switch.
Anyway, so I know people are divided on this one. And this is what I'm going to say. Visually, this is probably the best cinematography of the year. This is also the best sound design of the year. There's one scene in the theater, someone's walking under a bridge or walking away, and I heard every step and it felt real. Sound and design is phenomenal in this movie. You got a sound system, it's going to really, you're going to get your money's worth out of it with this movie. Visually, it's gorgeous. He really took a lot of pages from silent films where it's a lot of showing you.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. I am not, I mean, for me, it's a good movie. I don't think I'd call it like a 5-star movie or nothing. Some of the performances and stuff, some of the scenes were a little weird tonally. I think they put way too much makeup on Bill Skarsgård, and I don't think his performance really came through all that makeup. But the visuals, the sound, amazing. Also, the best actors in this movie, yes, Willem Dafoe is incredible. He's getting a lot of praise, but underrated actor in this is Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he should have gotten the lead role. As much as I like Nicholas Hoult, I felt like he was miscast. He didn't have chemistry with Lily Rose Depp.
And he didn't play Renfield in this.
Yeah, I wasn't really buying him in this role very well, but Aaron Taylor Johnson, he really stole every scene he was in. He did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. And we had, Johnny Depp's daughter as well.
Yeah, Lily Rose.
Lily Rose. I liked that they gave a little more of a backstory between her connection with Nosferatu.
What I will say about this, because I really don't feel like this movie did anything original. If you think it did, check out the 70s version of Nosferatu that has Klaus Kinski. Yeah. That one's terrific. And a lot of what they did with the Lily Rose Depp character in this, they took from that. Mm-hmm. They expanded a little bit, but I really think it's an interesting idea. One thing that was new to this movie was the idea that she had psychically had a relationship with Nosferatu before, and that's original. I wish they had done more with that, maybe even given us some flashbacks, because that was really intriguing.
Though Nosferatu the vampire, he did look a little goofy in that. He's also been in SpongeBob, as we mentioned earlier. He was also in the Munsters remake recently. He's kind of gotten to the point where he's a silly meme. I love the original Nosferatu, but he's not that intimidating anymore by today's standards. So as much as I felt like he looked a little weird in this movie, he was definitely intimidating. Like, he looked physically intimidating. Like, he could knock your ass down and make those weird slurpy sounds. They're very slurpy and disturbing. But
I like a bad-eared Nosferatu guy like the Master and Buffy. I would have liked more bad ears.
I personally do too, but I can see why they didn't go that route. Because like I said, it's been kind of made into a joke at this point. And they wanted to be a little more scary.
It's like Genghis Khan and all those furs.
He looks more like Dracula. It's
yeah. Like how they described Dracula in the book with like the furry eyebrows and stuff.
Yeah, like how he would actually look in real life.
Mama wants them bat ears.
But I can get why people were disappointed. I'm not a big fan of the new look myself.
Those little elfy ears were kind of hot.
I'm not a big fan of it myself, but I can see why they did it. And I have to say, this new look is intimidating. It's like scary. He looks physically like he could hurt you. So.
I feel like there haven't been that many Nosferatu movies, and they could have done it in a way that was different, but I don't hate what they did.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I just feel like Bill Skarsgård is an incredibly talented actor, and they put so much crap on his face that his performance didn't come through as well as it probably could have.
They tested that limit.
But this is our best of list, so let's just go back to the good stuff. Cinematography and great sound design. It was
atmospherically amazing. There's stuff that they did with the cameras that I just loved. And it is very violent, and nobody is safe in it. Doesn't matter if you're a main character, doesn't matter if you're an animal, a human, what age you are not safe in this. Everybody should fear for their lives. And William Dafoe is amazing, who also was funny because he was in Shadow the Vampire as Nosferatu.
Exactly. So yeah, I thought it was really good. Check it out.
Yeah, definitely see it. It is a love letter to the original.
So I think this is one of the most popular movies of last year, and it is another movie that definitely had its fan service, but I still think it did it in the way that it knew what it was doing.
It is a love letter to the first, honestly, every Alien movie that's come before it has been somewhat represented in this, so He definitely wanted you to go, hey, did you... It's almost like a best... I've been told it's almost a best of album of Aliens.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just kind of is what it is. Sometimes at this point, nothing's ever going to top the original Alien. Nothing's out going to perform the action that we got in Aliens. Those two movies are both 5-star movies for me. Like, they're different. One's more horror, one's more action, but those are 5-star movies, and I have never felt like anything in the franchise needs to be better than that, because that's unrealistic for me. So if you want to just play some of the best hits, but also have some fun, give me some xenomorphs and facehuggers killing people in cool ways, and doing some more stuff like that, this movie, it's got you in that sense.
I think namely, like, that stuff kind of refers to, like, there are homages to just about every Alien franchise movie, including the Prometheus movie. So I felt like it showed a love for it as a franchise entirely, and it didn't make you choose sides. Like, well, I like the Prometheus movies, or I don't like them. This one's like, no, they're all part of this Alien thing, and we love it. What I do like is, again, we've had a lot of Alien movies, but they kind of stopped being creative. And this movie showed us things done with the face huggers and such that we hadn't seen before. Like how you see in the trailer, she uses like this x-ray thing to see that it's gone all the way, inside of her.
Yeah.
Which is really gross and creepy.
They got some time to shine in here. I'm like, honestly, even when it's just trying to get into the mouth, like it's made me laugh because it's kind of funny, but it's at the same time, it's messed the fuck up. Like,
I mean, that's what Geiger was going for when he designed it. He wanted men to understand, like, essentially what it would be like to be raped. And he was like, this would kind of give you the idea.
This is
granted, men can be raped, Geiger, so I don't know why we need to have this, but still, it's scary.
Regardless of your gender, this alien is going to force itself upon you, and you don't want that. And that's,
exactly.
Everybody should know what
babies in you. I guess that's where it's different, because men cannot be forced to have babies.
Except for when xenomorph facehuggers.
It's a xenomorph, so I get you, Geiger. I get you.
Yeah.
So yeah, the body horror in this is extreme, and I think, yes, I agree, there are some side characters that I didn't really care about, but I loved our main character, Rain. I think she's great. I think she is as good a follow-up to Ripley as we're gonna get, and I love her cybernetic brother, Andy. I adore him. He is phenomenal because he's playing really multiple different characters in this, because he is programmed by Rain's father to protect her, but he also tells her, like, he's programmed to say dad jokes and stuff, but you also get the impression that he does have his own personality, and Rain really tries to foster that, even though she gets pushback from other people that say he's just a machine. It makes you kind of question, like, how much of that is true.
And then he gets, like, software tampered, and he becomes a completely different character, and the actor just does a great job of being multiple characters, of, like, depending on what his software is programmed to do.
And this movie is really creative. It takes a lot of the things like the acid blood and finds new ways to utilize them. I don't want to spoil the ending of the movie, but it is nightmare fuel. They answer a lot of questions that we had left unanswered from Prometheus that I thought was done really well in this movie.
Yeah.
However, I mean, I do understand some of the criticisms. A lot of people are upset that the gentleman who he played Bilbo in Lord of the Rings, I'm drawing a blank on his name, he plays Ash in this. They have him playing a different Ash droid, but obviously that man has passed away. Though I will say his AI likeness was used with the blessing of his family.
And that's good.
Yes. So I'm not that mad at it. The only parts that made me mad, where it just took me out of the movie, is they borrow some lines from previous installments, and they didn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Which I loved the last Evil Dead movie we got, but that had a few characters just shooting out lines from old movies. And it's,
That kind of stuff, I feel, kind of treats the audience like they're stupid. Like, we know what you're doing. I mean, you can have other kinds of homages that are a little less on the nose, but I mean, I think they're having fun with it, and it was done with the best intentions.
It doesn't ruin it for me, but at the same time, I get it. It's like, we didn't need someone regurgitating a line that we love just for the sake of doing that. But whatever.
Pardon me.
Overall, had a great time seeing it.
Yeah, this is one I would definitely own on 4K. I really had a good time with it. And for everyone who said it was too fan servicey, I know Fede has said with the next movie, he is giving us something completely new. And I already thought we got a lot new in this one. So I trust him, and I think the franchise is in great hands. To answer Brandon's question, we are Universal Studios people. I haven't gone to Disneyland since like 2001.
think
I do actually want to go back because there's a lot of cool new stuff there. But we go to Universal.
Yeah, we're
when we go down there.
more than that. I've been to Disneyland like twice. I think it was like 5 and 9. Those were the last 2 times I went. So,
are you ready? I'm starting to get like, we need caffeine.
oh yeah.
All this streaming is like it's tiring work. It's tiring, thirsty work. Well, we're almost out of movies.
Yeah.
That's good because I am getting kind of sleepy. I've been doing all this work talking about movies.
All right.
But it's good. We're having fun with our friends.
As we said earlier, there was like kind of this religious kick, but done in a good way.
So again, I've talked about this before. You can make a movie that has themes, and you can do it without being pretentious, and you can do it without being preachy. Mm-hmm. You can do it without seeming like you have an axe to grind. And the way to do that is to present multiple arguments.
Yeah.
You need to do your research. It's not going to be easy. Set the table. Present your argument, but make it very clear that the movie is not just the director's opinion, one-sided point of view. Present a lot of different opinions and let your audience decide what they're going to chew on. Let them take away from it what they want.
I don't like it when a movie, I don't care if it is like the good guys win or if the bad guys win. I love horror movies that have both of those type of endings. I just don't like it when it's a complete, in a wrestling term, squash match. So I love it when, even if we're just getting into debates like about morals and religion and all that kind of stuff, I want both sides to have strong arguments. It doesn't matter who I agree with particularly. I just feel like it's more interesting when they have like a level playing field on like their IQ and who can like present what. And this is more of a debate. It is a scary debate because there's lives at stake, but I like that they can both be like giving you their side without the movie telling you which one is right.
I know a few of you haven't seen this. I want to say best male performance of this year is Hugh Grant in this movie. He is phenomenal. They specifically chose him for this role, and thankfully he accepted because he is incredible. I've never seen him be menacing, aside from Paddington 2, I guess. I love Paddington 2. That's a whole other story. I cannot wait for the next one.
There's a third Paddington coming out.
I'm English. It's in our blood.
But
anyway, we love Hugh Grant too. Anyway, so this story is about 2 Mormon girls who they're doing their mission where when someone shows interest in the Mormon church or fills out a form something, they will go to your house and have a meeting with you. There are certain rules, like they can't enter unless there's a woman present, just like male missionaries cannot enter your home without a man of your house present. So there are rules, but essentially Hugh Grant has filled this thing out to have these girls come. He's like, come in. Yeah, the wife's over there making blueberry pie. But he has kind of, they look like they're chess pieces here or game pieces. Yeah. And what he really wants to do is get them to question their faith. So I'm sure you have had a friend who's like, oh, this crazy thing I did where I told the Jehovah's Witnesses I'm a Satanist and got them running away scared. I think everyone has that one friend who tried to do something extreme. Nobody can top Hugh Grant.
No.
This is extreme. And what I love about this is it's not just one-sided. I actually don't know what the director's opinion is. I can see why some people say it's offensive to Mormon people, but honestly, they got the Bob Ross monopoly, so I think they did them well. But what he does is he puts them into kind of a game, and he really challenges a lot of the beliefs with Mormonism. As somebody who's gone to a lot of different churches and finds religion very, very fascinating, but ultimately decided not to be Christian, I thought this was really interesting. And at first I was like, yeah, Hugh Grant, you make a good point, sir. But what I like is we have Sophie Thatcher as one of the missionaries, and she is on it. She is very devout to her faith, so I don't think it's offensive to Mormon people. I will say some of the stuff isn't accurate. I do know that from having a lot of Mormon family. Like Mormons don't believe in reincarnation. There are some, you can get nitpicky with it. But overall, I think they did a good job of having her be somebody who stands by her faith and who gives him a great counter argument. And it leaves us with a lot to think about. We also have our other missionary girl who I think I think she's more of an audience kind of character where we're kind of like her, like, well, I don't know. That's a good point. That's a good point. One of my favorite parts about this movie is he talks about songs, how, there's a lot of songs. One, for instance, is Under Pressure. That riff from there is used in Vanilla Ice's Ice Ice Baby. Mm-hmm. This movie gives you a different example of what is that song? Da na 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 na, but to love you. All I need is the air that I breathe. That's it. All right, sorry for that, guys. You did not ask for that. So they talk about how that band sued Radiohead because they used basically the same music line for Creep. My absolute favorite part of this is Hugh Grant going, I'm a weirdo. Like, he says it so strange and it's so creepy, but it's so good. And then he talks about how then Lana Del Rey, it's all part of his point. And he talks about, he has like these really interesting arguments.
Origins of Monopoly and like where the predecessing games that stole from and all that stuff. It's like, it's interesting. But like I said, it's not a completely, I'm smart, they're not. They answer back very well. He is playing almost a jigsaw type game with them.
Yeah, it's a lot like that.
They're like not going to go down without a fight. And yes, he's very subtle at first and he's kind of tricking them, like with subtly though. Like he says a few things in the very beginning that they don't pick up on and realize that they are being played. But once they do know that there is a game afoot, they step up and they fight back. And I like that about this.
And one of the things I liked about this is kind of like in movies like The Menu, or even Compliance, where a lot of times we can sense something's wrong, but this way we've been conditioned to be polite continues to put us in the situation that's very, very dangerous. We know in our gut we should run, but then we also don't want to be rude in case we're wrong.
Right.
And so these girls are in a really, really scary situation, and one that you're just like, well, how the heck are they going to get out of this? And we don't want them to do it, but then we also, I think it's understandable why they are there. I don't think they're stupid by any means. And ultimately what this movie is about, even more so than it's about religion, it's about control.
Yeah.
And who has control in this situation. Yeah. And it really does keep you guessing.
And who's just going to roll over and let the other one have control. And
yes.
It's a power struggle for control. And I feel like I did enjoy the See No Evil remake, but I feel like this did that kind of same message, but way better.
Yes, because See No Evil, that's a remake of a Danish film, which is fantastic. I do think James McAvoy was brilliant in that movie. For me, it didn't quite make the list. It was just, what I expected. But that movie is very much about how you need to be polite and not ruffle feathers. That could easily put us in a bad situation with the wrong people. This movie takes that up to an 11.
Another reason why we didn't really add that one to this list is because this one is the same thing, but a little better, so it would have been kind of redundant.
Yeah, this one was, for me, I think this is my number 3. I haven't mentioned...
I felt like it was really good, and Hugh Grant just showing that...
Why do I keep changing the stage?
Hugh Grant just shows his, range here, because mostly I think of him as, rom-com guy.
Yeah,
and he's great at that, and he's been funnier and done a couple other things that aren't that as well, but this just goes farther than he's ever gone before.
I wasn't fooled, because I've seen Paddington, too. So. I've seen The Face of True Evil, and it is Hugh Grant.
Is that Nicole Kidman? Was that the first one she's the villain? I don't know.
Get your Paddington together, brah.
Either way, they're villains.
Whoa.
Now I just want an orange marmalade sandwich.
Oh my God, I love me a marmalade sandwich.
Orange marmalade.
We love that for us.
All right,
let's talk about this one. This came out early in the year. It might have flown under some radars. This movie is perfection. This movie is fantastic. This movie, as the kids say, lived rent-free in my brain for weeks. I was just thinking it over and over. There's a lot of things I love about this. Visually, it's fantastic. The director does a fantastic job. They also did another movie I really liked. They did that movie, We're All Going to the World's Fair.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, this movie visually is incredible. It's got this very kind of pink aesthetic throughout all of it.
Very 80s, almost 90s.
It's very 90s.
Yeah.
Specifically, it's drawing on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So,
of course you don't.
Before I get into that, it's about these two people, and I really connected with this because we had this young boy who is fascinated by this show called Pink something.
But he's not allowed to watch it.
Anyway, he wants to see it, but he can't watch it. And a girl who is obsessed with it, and she has the guide to the show. I relate to this because the moment I heard they were making a Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show, I knew it was going to be my new favorite show. And I just ended up buying the TV show guide of it, the Watcher's Guide, and reading all the novelizations because this channel didn't broadcast in my town. So I totally understood being this kid who's like obsessed with a show they've never seen. Like, I absolutely got that. And so he sneaks over to this girl's house, and that is their bond. They're obsessed with this show that really helps them get through some pretty hard times in their life. Even though they really don't have a lot in common, they have this show, and it helps them just survive. So I related to that, but then it also talks a lot about like nostalgia, like the things we love are not necessarily how we remember. I love the show that they watch and uses the same font as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but it also has like homages to Pete and Pete. A lot of other 90s things I think are really cool, specifically the ice cream headed man. It's like an episode of Pete and Pete. But then it shows you, like, it's kind of that way when you love something as a kid and then you watch it and you're like, that's not as good as I remember. I was like that with the movie Supergirl. I watched that obsessively when I was a kid. I bought it on DVD as an adult. I'm like, gosh darn it, this sucks. You did it wrong, young Gory.
I don't think it sucks by any means. I love monsters. But some of the most first memories I had as a young kid was watching the show Monsters, and it was so vivid and scary in my head. Like, I remembered, the bed that eats women, this guy, and then like the refrigerator that eats him, and it's like, this is scary as shit. There's also like this kids host robot that like cuts out a dude's heart for Valentine, and it was so much more scary than as I remembered it, as I saw it as a 4 or 5 year old. And I finally found out what these were, because it took me forever. I like looked forever. Like, was it on Freddy's Nightmares? What was it on? Like, and I finally saw it. I was like, okay, it's on Monsters. And I remembered that opening. I love that opening. I still do. But then I watched those episodes and I'm like, this scared the shit out of me. Yeah, it's so corny and cheesy. I mean, I still love it, but it's nowhere near what I remembered it to be.
Tales from the Dark Side, a lot of that. And really, you just can't quite get it back the way you did when you're young. It speaks to a lot of that. Like, a lot of things, you know, we love when we're younger. They're just never going to be the same as they were when we experienced them, because we were different then. When you're younger, you have your whole life ahead of you. You feel invincible in a way. You don't recognize your mortality as much. Just life is a lot different. Like, even songs I hated from the 90s now, I'm like, kick ass. Because, like, it reminds me of being young. And that's a lot of what this is. But it's also kind of about the dangers of being, like, you're probably wondering, like, what does this have to do with horror? That's what we're getting to. It's kind of the dangers of being really wrapped into your nostalgia. So, like, our generation, me being a millennial, us being millennials, is barely, a lot different. I'm barely. Us being millennials, it's a lot different than for our parents who are boomers. My mom doesn't have a whole room full of stuff like this. You know, adults didn't have nostalgia stuff like this, but whereas most of my friends my age do have, you know, whatever fandom they're into on their walls and stuff, and it's completely okay. And this is kind of like the danger of living more into the realm of, you know, what your fandom is, that reality, whether it's an anime, whether it's horror movies, being so invested in that becomes your world, to the point where you are those characters, and when they're in pain, you're in pain. And it gets to the point that they no longer know what's reality. Are they really the people in the show, or are they fans of the show who are just having a sad life growing up?
Yeah, and you said you relate to him. I kind of related to her more, because I was that person when someone wanted to see a horror movie or a TV show that they weren't allowed to watch at home, they'd come over to my house. Sometimes they weren't allowed back, because I would show them those movies.
I figured you'd be like him too, because in the show he's the girl.
Yeah.
He is a girl.
Yeah, but so I do relate to him in that sense. But I related to her in the beginning because she's like, oh, you really want to see this show? Come over to my house. I'll show it to you. And he's like, okay. And he like got to hang out with the older kids. But I kind of was like, 'cause my cousins and most of my friends were just slightly younger than me, just because how it was. And so they'd come to my house and I'd be like, yeah, watch this. And they'd be like, oh, I'm not allowed to watch this at home.
Yeah, it really tackles a lot of that. Like, you know, my son was really afraid of like Goosebumps, and then he's watched it as he's older, and it's silly.
Yeah.
And how things are never quite the same, and how we really try to get back to that place. And yet we're told we need to grow up and stuff. And obviously, like, this character here, like, there's a lot in here. And both the actors are really, really good. Like, there's a lot to unpack. but like he very much seems to be asexual. And yet, you know, he feels all this pressure to do these certain milestones. You know, you get a new TV, you get a new house, you do all these things. And it makes you question, like, why do we do those things? Why do we put away the old things that we love? Like, why are they no longer good? You know, and I don't know, just it's a lot in here. And it really, as somebody who's very addicted to her fandoms, it left me with a lot to think about. I'm being very vague, and I apologize for that, but I really think this is one that go in as blind as you can. Even if it's not totally for you, I think aesthetically it's incredible. It also did remind me a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I know was one of the leading inspirations for it, especially how, like, it will break to show the bands playing at the club. That's something Buffy the Vampire Slayer did. In fact, back in the day, if you watched the WB, Charmed would do that. A lot of the shows I loved would do that. And then on the commercials, it would be like, blah, 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 buy this album. So, like, that part didn't bother me. I know it bothered some people, and the music was great. So I highly recommend this. This movie is incredible. Like, this is one of those movies that really gets inside your soul.
It's also like a creepy version almost of The Matrix, where you can, like, accept reality and almost be just kind of a shell and know that this isn't exactly the way you want to live, but you're just going to do it anyways. Or you can risk it all and go after a dream that just needs to be, like, filled in with you.
Yeah, you can relate to this, whether, I mean, I think this is going to resonate with people who are trans. I think this is going to resonate with people who have a, you know, LGBTQ plus sexuality. Anybody who has felt like they had to basically settle for a life that they didn't want.
Told to be a person that they don't feel like they actually are inside themselves. Yeah, I feel like it's definitely a good metaphoric way to kind of deal with some of that. And so.
Especially with, you know, our generation where we like to hang on to our nostalgia. So definitely check it out. Don't let this one pass you by.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting close to the end.
Is this the last one?
No, I think we got 2.
Okay.
I think we have 2 now. Doesn't seem to be many movies left. I'm so sorry that I'm singing so much. This is what Danny puts up with every day. That's how you know you found a keeper.
We did finally get our Beetlejuice sequel. However, I feel like this movie was almost the closest we'll probably ever get to the Beetlejuice cartoon live-action adaptation.
Guys, I forgot to tell you the most important things. 2 of the movies on our list dropped dong. Nosferatu dong, and there's dong in this movie. And this movie's PG-13.
Yet they still... Yeah, there was cutting off of a dong. Did they show the dong? Or did they just cut it off?
It doesn't matter. It's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
You can question it forever.
How much blood did Texas Chainsaw Massacre actually show us?
Exactly. Makes you feel like you watched a lot of blood. All I know is I left this movie feeling like I saw a lot of dong, and I was happy.
Gory does lists where dongs get cut off.
Anyway, I loved this movie. So I love Diablo Cody. Diablo Cody, they did Juno. They did one of my favorite movies, Jennifer's Body, that's finally getting some recognition. And they did this movie. And it's directed by Zelda Williams, who is Robin Williams' daughter. I'm really sad he didn't get a chance to see his daughter's first movie, because this is really fun. Visually, it's a treat. I love that we get some, like, trip to the moon visuals in this. It's set in the 80s. Now, it's not really like the 80s, but honestly, I did have a few rich friends who were able to redecorate their house for the 80s, and they had, like, that pink lamp everybody had. You know, so it is a little over 80s. Most of us had wood-paneled houses.
Lisa's, in the very beginning, you find out Lisa's mom was murdered. And she goes to stay with her, like, other family, like her aunt, her uncle, and her cousin.
No.
Oh, no.
Her mom was murdered,
That's
and
right.
her dad gets remarried.
Yeah, that's right. Her dad gets remarried, so she goes to live with that. She's got a stepmom and a stepsister. And they're pretty well off.
And what I want to say about this that's really cool is, yes, she doesn't get along with her stepsister, but I do love that her and her stepsister, she doesn't get along with her stepmother. Her and her stepsister are very close, which I think is really cool. Her stepsister's also super popular at school, and even though Lisa isn't, she brings her into it. I love the play on words here with, like, Lisa Frank, which all us 80s girls loved, and, you know, Frankenstein. And essentially what happens is she goes to a bachelor's cemetery, which is a place where some places would have where they'd bury men who are not married. So this guy has a whole bust. He looks pretty good on the bust. And so she spends a lot of her time there just being goth and stuff and morose. And she says she wishes she was with this guy. And then there's a storm. And he comes back. And he's all zombified. But the more she is able to, I guess, replace his body parts, Frankenstein style, and use her sister's defective tanny bed that electrifies you to spark it up, the more alive he becomes.
It's very, like, 80s in the sense, like, you know, My Boyfriend's Back. I guess that was early 90s. But, like, that type of story, but modern day, yet still somewhat of a throwback.
It does remind me of, like, John Hughes movies, like, I think it's the one with Stoltz, and I think it's What I Like About You, where those a lot, but you know what I mean, Pretty in Pink, where you have a girl who likes a guy, but she doesn't realize that her best friend's perfect for her and he's pining for her. That was in so many 80s movies, and that's what's going on here. We can tell that the boy she brought back, as he gets more and more human, you know, he kind of likes her, and she's just like, what's up? We're just gonna braid each other's hair and stuff.
I didn't mean to necessarily, like, we're just kind of buds. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just, you read too far into this. But it's also, like, I don't know, the movie that came out not too long ago, and I feel like this did it way better, but it was kind of what I was hoping from The Loneliest Boy in the World. Where he, like, summons friends from the dead, like, and he gets himself a family. And that was really cool on paper. The execution wasn't great. This, I feel like, executed it almost flawlessly.
And
not quite, but almost.
The love story part of it, like, I wouldn't go into it for that, because I do think that's one of the parts where it's not that satisfying, because she really spends, like, the whole movie pining after this other guy, this artsy guy. So I think the movie really advertised it as being a romance, and it really isn't. Diablo Cody, again, her movies always get poorly marketed, but Diablo Cody calls this a coming of rage story, and I think that's basically,
That's a good way.
Lisa is a girl who is told to be nice and sweet, and if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And she really has a lot of objections about how people treat her and how the world is, but she doesn't say anything. And as she has this relationship with her undead friend, she, like, embraces, like, dressing how she wants, saying what she wants to say, sticking up for herself, to the point she's a little bratty, but, you know, she's been cooped up for so long. So I think she kind of goes over the line a bit, but I really had a lot of fun with this.
It makes sense. Why
it's not as good, I think, as Jennifer's Body, but it was still, like, a solid, like, 4.5-star movie.
Because she's pretty, like, emotionally traumatized, obviously, by watching her mom get murdered, but she's, like, almost meek and timid and just doesn't know how to fit into the world, and people are like, ooh, she's a freak. But then when they have, like, oh, her mama died, oh, poor dear, that's, like, the best she's gonna get from people, is like, oh, poor her, she's misunderstood because her mom died, or they're just gonna, like, hate her because she's a freak and she doesn't fit in. She ends up saying deuces and just kind of ends up finding herself because with the help of the guy she brought back from the life. But
yeah, like, girls are not really allowed to be angry, and I think this pairs nicely with something like Ginger Snaps, which I think is also a coming of age story, where, you know, girls are just not allowed to be angry or pissed off, and, you know, this movie is about kind of embracing that side of yourself. I really do hope we get a sequel, though, because I think there's a lot more to explore with these characters. I, for one, would love it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to, I think, what we kind of anonymously say is the best. I think we both
It's the best.
We both put this on our
It was
top
both of our number one, and how can we be wrong? Do we get everything
We could
else?
easily be wrong. But
I mean, we can, but
does Demi Moore ever let us down?
damn, we're not talking about that. I saw The Juror.
She was in Beavis and Butthead Do America.
She was in Piranha.
She was.
Or not Piranha.
No.
The other Piranha. It's driving me crazy now. Demi Moore. Now we have to look this up because Danny's bothered me.
I didn't say anything about this.
What is it? Parasite. That's it. Parasite. Not Piranha. Parasite. But luckily no one's watching anymore. Right now we're just doing this for ourselves. So our number one movie for both of us was The Substance. So here's the thing. I've seen a lot of movies. I've seen a cat barf up a smaller mutant cat. I've seen an aborted fetus tackle an entire brothel. I've seen things, guys. I've been places. But I have never seen somebody give birth to a boob.
Or birth to a younger version of themselves.
Yeah.
I don't. It's
so
weird.
We're not going to spoil this. This again is another one of those ones where it's got layers, and I would say it's artistic, but it's not. I didn't think it was pretentious, and I think it can be interpreted a lot of different ways. Essentially, what happens here, pardon me, is Demi Moore was basically like Jane Fonda back in the 80s. She did like all this workout stuff, and now that she's, you know, a very gorgeous woman, and I think, her 50s or 60s, I think.
Yeah.
She's being replaced, with a younger woman. And so they take down her billboard, they give her some shitty parting gift. And yeah, that's a lot of how female celebrities are treated.
I'm sure Demi Moore, even as amazing as she is, has probably dealt with this in her career. I bet that she got to a point where like her agents and studios were just like, well, you're too old to play that.
Yeah, a lot of women celebrities have complained that they don't have work as they get older. Brooke Shields just released a new memoir saying Brooke Shields is not allowed to get old.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on women. If you get work done, people criticize you. If you don't, people criticize you. No matter what, I will say, even just being a girl on YouTube with a very small channel, a lot of people have opinions on my appearance, which, it's just not something a lot of men get, at least to the same degree that women do. A lot of people feel like they have the right to lay their opinions on you, and that's what a lot of this movie is.
I feel like
to the point that Demi Moore's character lives for that, and she wants it to be positive. So, she has a horrible fucking day, and someone finally says, hey, you should check this stuff out. It's called The Substance. It's very, underground. But essentially what happens is you divide yourself with a younger version of yourself. Only one of you is activated at a time. The other one of you, it's literally born from her back. And the other one of you is kept and nicely, and it needs to be fed.
You need to keep a balance.
And you need to switch on exactly the right day. Premise established.
1 week for you, one week for us.
What I like about this is it says, remember, you are one. And so there's so many ways you can look at this. I think women and their daughters can definitely find something with that. It's a younger version of themselves, or any of your children, a younger version of you that seems like it's almost replaced you. It came out of you. Even looking at your younger self and being like, I wish I could be like that, but that is you. You are that.
You can support that child and help.
And essentially saying that to be happy, you kind of have to embrace both sides of yourself and be kind to yourself. And I think it's a lot about how, that self-love a lot of us lack, especially as we get older.
And I think the wrong people that take this, especially when you were young, if you were very egotistical and selfish, it ain't going to work out for you, because that younger you is going to be in control for a week at a time, and they're not going to respect you. It also kind of, like you said, it goes both ways, not just for how adults treat their children, but how children sometimes treat their adults. It's just how it is. If there's no balance there, you're both screwed. Or
even older generations.
Exactly. You're screwed if there's no balance. You got to work together, especially because you are the same person, to keep that balance. But if you're that selfish, you can't even work with yourself. Oh man, you're in trouble.
I feel like there's a lot in here. There's how a lot of us always feel like we need to be better and stuff, but we don't realize how lucky we are. Demi Moore's gorgeous, but when she has all these people criticizing her, she doesn't know to be thankful for just the fact that she's in good health.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't have that, unfortunately. Just your health, being thankful for it.
Yeah.
But, it's really hard when you've got people like Dennis Quaid who's not getting that shit, and they make it very clear that it's very different for men. I think a lot of this is also about, it's interesting how the moment she gets another version of herself, she wants them to work for the same jerk who treated her like crap, instead of trying to do something for herself. And I think it's all about how we're kind of trained to constantly seek the approval of others, but how that's it's trying to, fill yourself up with, popcorn. It's just not going to happen. You're going to be hungry for a very long time, and that ultimately, my interpretation from this is that the only way out of that is loving yourself.
Yeah, and if you set your house on fire, everything's going to burn down. And like I said, they're not working together. Hell, she could be her younger version's agent. They could both be profiting off of this. They could be changing the world. They could make it a better world for other women. Instead, they're just both kind of selfish and bitter towards each other. And it literally tears them apart. Remember
that you are one. And so what I like about this movie is that there's a lot of layers. You absolutely could interpret it a different way than me, and I'm sure you're right too. That's what makes a great movie. It's not hitting us over the head with it. We can look at it a lot of different ways, because it's a lot to chew on here, and I think it's really good. Yeah. Demi Moore is giving an incredible performance. Margaret Qualley is doing a great job. Everyone's phenomenal in this. The visuals, the sound design, all of that stuff. And then just that third act, you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. My jaw dropped to the ground. I was laughing my ass off. I felt like I was at a Gwar concert. I had the best time.
Yeah.
And don't spoil it.
That's just gonna say, like, as someone who loves going to gore concerts, the third act in this was amazing. I did not see any of that coming. I'm not gonna go into details of what it is. I kind of saw where I thought it was gonna end, and it goes there in like the second act. But then it's like this whole brand new third act. I had no idea where we were going. I'm like, whoa, this is a hell of a ride. I'm strapped in. Take me.
The Substance, I wouldn't pair it with American Psycho necessarily, because that's about like yuppie culture and a different thing. This is very much about how women are treated and viewed. I mean, it does have male characters too, but it doesn't seem to be about their appearance as much. But especially like how we treat older people and such. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a great pairing, but honestly, Jennifer's Body isn't a bad way to go, since Jennifer is also not, she's judged on how she looks. They assume, based on how she looks, that they know who she is. That's not a great pairing. I'm sure there's a better double feature.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say. What would be the best double feature for this? Maybe it'll come to me later.
I feel like later I'm going to have a better double feature.
But
that's a good list for Letterboxd. We should do double features.
What it does it shows you like every time like a guy is on this, there is like that subtle nod, like these guys are like just eating like the grossest food. They don't care. Like has this weird like almost fisheye lens on them. But that's the point. It's not saying that in a sense men are all evil or bad. It's just these guys don't give a shit about their own stuff. So why is it so hard that she has to be like put on like this, like everything has to be perfect for even this guy who just asks her out on a date? She has been driven by society to be perfect, and she doesn't feel perfect, so she doesn't even want to go. Titan, honestly, I think is a pretty good double feature with this, just because of the body horror. I was thinking
Night Bitch would be good too.
That is, I think, metaphorically a good one. Titan's a good one with the body horror like going there. But she is like under all this pressure to look perfect when these guys who like make this pressure on her, they don't give a shit about how they look. They're allowed to age and be like gross as they want, but she's not allowed to enjoy herself.
Disgusting when they're like, you should smile more, but they don't feel the pressure to smile.
Yeah, like they don't even feel the pressure. Like they can.
But I don't want to get into like too much of it. I think we've given you enough. But what I will say that you should see this because of the incredible performances, incredible visuals. It's by Corley Fargett. Hopefully I pronounced that right. She did Revenge, which was really, really good. Honestly, you compare it with Revenge. That's a good one, too. Yeah. She's really not taken seriously in that, and she ends up stepping up.
It's not like a battle with themselves, but the way that the girls kind of like fight with each other in Neon Demon.
Yeah, like, Neon Demon's
they're pitted against each other, and this she's pitted against herself, technically, but it's kind of like shows how women are pressured into fighting like with the toxic nonsense that they have to go through.
Black Swan, especially the way when Winona Ryder's kind of replaced with Natalie Portman.
Yeah, that one works as well.
So yeah, there's a lot of good things in there. It's a fantastic movie. Really do check it out. Yeah, and this movie has like everything. Demi Moore drops everything. So like everything.
And when you're ever walking on that Boulevard Hollywood and seeing all the stars, you're not going to look at it the same way ever again. I'm just going to say that much.
Yeah, it's a lot of just about how like people are chasing for that moment of glory in the past instead of appreciating that it is there and that it's still part of who they are.
Yeah.
That they accomplished it.
And like how people are so desperate that they will literally burn both sides of the candle at once and extinguish themselves rather quickly.
After this movie, I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on Corley Fargett and anything else she does. Mm-hmm. There's another movie that kind of, I mean, thematically and stuff, but I think it just kind of gave me the same vibe. What was that really gross movie? Saltburn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, it's hard to really pair this with it because it is fairly unique.
That's the thing, and it pays so many homages. There's homages to The Shining. There's a lot of homages in this. I think there's a little bit of The Fly. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of homages in this, and yet it is very good at being its uniquely own thing. There's never a moment where it says a line directly from another movie, like maybe Alien Romulus does, which I love that movie too. But this is uniquely its own thing. It has its own look. I think it's a really cool movie. I think this is a movie that's going to be like a new classic.
Yeah. If you love body horror, check it out. It's so good.
Yeah, fantastic. And I love that it's having fun with it too, because a lot of these movies, that have quote unquote the substance, they get a little high on their own supply and they don't allow themselves to have a good time. And if they do, they certainly don't invite you to have a good time with them. Yeah. This movie does. This movie wants you to have a good time, and it's like, okay, we're gonna go over these things, but we're also going to have fun with it.
It has a lot of great points, but it never gets too artsy fartsy for its own good. No, it can be down and gritty and dirty and fun. So,
hey, Simon.
What's up, Lord?
I think I am ready to go to bed. Yeah. So, because we talked about something.
Streaming all night.
We did 2 streams back to back. So if you missed it, do check out The Worst Of over on Horror Addicts. Mm-hmm. I will put a link in the doobly doop. You can just go over to Horror Addicts too. And yeah, I hope you guys had a good time. Anything you want to say before we go?
No, just love movies. Hit us up with nominations for the Oscars.
Yes, do follow Horror Addicts on all of your social media. So I know he's on Facebook. He does the best Instagram stories. You need to follow him on there. I'm terrible at that. He's fantastic. He makes it an art form. X, all the things. Follow him because he's going to be asking you guys what was the best performance. And you want to tell him your nominations because they will be included on the ballot that you guys will also be voting on. Yeah. So it's very, very important. As for me, you will see me again February 20th with my girl, Killer Kayla, when we talk about strange and unusual books with the Strange and Unusual Book Club.
Nice.
And until we meet again,
blessed be.